Buenos dias, my name's Madeline. Welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to talk about my number one secret to career growth. Now, I have a lot of tips and tricks, not necessarily secrets, that I've gathered over the years to help people advance in their careers, especially young professionals. But there's one thing that's really stuck out as the base of the pyramid, so to speak, because without having this very strong base, the rest of the work that you put in will be for naught. First of all, I'd like to throw out a warning, I guess, that it's a no-brainer, this secret, but it's something that a lot of people, including myself, oftentimes need a reminder of. So before I leave New York today, I'm on a bit of a trip, hence why I'm so dressed down. I'm due at the airport in like 30 minutes. I wanted to make sure and get this to you guys. So without further ado, let's talk about that number one secret. And it is never stop applying. Now, if you don't like the answer to that, we're going to talk about a ton of other career advice, but I stand firm in the belief that continually applying to new positions is baseline step number one. Why? Because if you're not applying to new positions, you're not moving up. And if you're not moving up, then you're not growing after a while. And if you're not growing, then you'll become career stagnant. And that is definitely not where you want to be if you're on the rise in your career. Now, if you're really super happy in your current job and want to make the decision to stay, I definitely don't think that there's anything wrong with that. There are certain circumstances, especially if your particular position is constantly giving you room to grow and discover new things, then definitely, totally make the decision to stay. I'll also make note here that it is possible to change jobs too often. You don't want a potential future employer to look at your resume and think that you're a very uneasy type of employee, in the sense that you're always just looking for the next best thing and you're going to leave soon after they hire you. Or it can also denote that you don't work well with people and are constantly trying to get away from different coworkers that you don't get along with. There are a bunch of things that a potential future employer could think when they see a resume with a ton of turnover, but at the same time, that depends on where you are in your career and a lot of different aspects. Bare minimum, usually I would recommend about 1 to 2 years at each job, which gives you time to really get settled in, learn everything you possibly can from that position, and gives you time to start to really shine in that position, so that when you start looking for the next thing, you can demonstrate that you're truly ready. But there are most definitely exceptions to the 1 to 2 year rule. For example, and there are many, if you came out of a position that you were at for, let's say, 3 to 4 years, a good long time, and you took another position and were only there for maybe 6 months, but you felt stagnant in that position, or like there was no room for growth, you've already learned everything and you're just not getting anything out of it and want to go ahead and start looking for that next step immediately, go for it. You've shown from that previous job that you were at for 3, 4, maybe 5, 6 years that you are a very stable and well-loved employee. It's fine that you took the wrong position and you're willing to own up to that, and you can tell that next boss that exactly that and be honest and say that you're looking for the right spot and you think that that right spot is with that new company. Similarly, forced moves. If maybe your significant other found work elsewhere and you had to move, or maybe you're moving from your college town to another city, there are a ton of reasons why you might have to move. And if you were only in your previous job for a couple of months or so before you had to move, people are obviously going to understand that. In fact, you can even put in your resume the reason why you left, and like towards the end of the description, maybe in italics, and say left because of move or something to that effect. So don't be afraid to move from your current position if you have a good excuse. Use the good excuse, I would say. Use it as an excuse. As for what positions to be looking for, we are all on our own paths in a plethora of different career options, so it's really hard to give generalized advice on this kind of stuff. But in general, you should be looking for a position that is a small but significant step in your career ladder, I suppose. Avoid lateral moves unless you need a new position ASAP, like for example, if you're moving to a new place and you don't have the kind of savings to be able to sustain yourself while you find the right spot, that's okay to make a lateral move then. You'll have future options. Or maybe if you're just super miserable in your current spot and just need to get out like that. Otherwise, look for the next step up. Otherwise, look for a role that's an increase in responsibility, that's going to allow you to use skills that you've already acquired, and maybe even continue building relevant skill sets. That's definitely a bonus to continue to expand. But try to avoid moving into a position just to learn a new skill set if that skill set isn't going to apply to your overall career goals. I, for one, am the kind of person that loves learning new things. Love it. But I have made the mistake of moving into a role because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get to learn this and this and this and this and this. But none of those things applied to my overall career goals. And so it's hard looking back not to think that I could have made a smarter move by waiting for a role that would have taught me new things, but that were aligned with my overall career goals, which would have set me in motion a little faster to get to where I want to be. So if it's a general skill set that you're going to be learning that would apply to anything, I'm talking about, I don't know, you're not going to find, for example, a career that data analysis doesn't apply to, then go for it. But if this particular position, you're going to be spending 75% of your time on our programming, and your overall career goals are to be CEO of a cosmetic company someday, it's probably better to wait for a position that is going to be expanding the skill sets that the CEO of a cosmetic company are going to directly need on a day-to-day basis or have very technical expertise on, if you get my feel. Now, okay, this isn't necessarily a look for either, but it's important that you not waste time applying to every single position that you see. I think that's a common mistake when you're job hunting, especially when we're young, and I'm talking about myself here too because I've done it, that you're applying for every single position that you see. There's a lot of wasted time and energy there. You need to believe in yourself and know that you deserve the best, and as long as you have put in the work to build your resume and become the kind of person that companies want, then trust that. Push the limits when you apply. If, for example, the listing says at least 5 years of experience in a certain sector and you have 4, then go for it. If it's your dream job, if you can see it aligning, everything in that job description aligning to your career goals, and you're really close and you hit everything else, but it says 5 years and you only have 4, don't sweat it. Apply, sell yourself, go for it. Otherwise, focus entirely on what's going to be your best fit, the kinds of positions that most closely align to your career goals, and at companies or departments or agencies, whatever, that you have maybe connections that can help put in a good word for you, things like that. If you sit down and find maybe 7 possible jobs that you could apply for on LinkedIn or Monster or wherever you're at. Then sit down, decide which 3 truly align best with your career goals and connections, and apply for those. The number one biggest career killer is burnout. So please, please, please do us both a favor and avoid it like the plague. Be both selective but also confident in your applications so that when you get a call for an interview, you know that you're ready or can get ready for that interview like that, because you know that that was the right spot for you. Definitely let people know that you're looking. I know that this can be scary, especially if you're good friends with the people in your current organization, but a supportive group of work friends will be supportive of your overall career and goals. And so don't be afraid to tell them that you're looking. And then change your LinkedIn account to reflect the fact that you're looking, and put the word out, preferably in face-to-face conversations, but messages is fine too if you're not in a geographic situation where you can meet up face-to-face. But just to reiterate, never stop applying. Never. I personally start looking at new job postings online very casually about a month after I take a new job. I don't start applying yet, but I start looking at the posting. I read through the entire job description of the kind of jobs that I have begun to envision as being my next step. And I learn a lot from that. For the next several months, I only apply to positions that seem like once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. So maybe that's a next step kind of position that doesn't require quite as much experience as I've seen in other job postings. That's why it's important to read them, even if you're not applying to them on a regular basis, so that you know and can judge. Or maybe it's the opportunity to take a really good position that's remote work if you're tired of your commute or something like that. Once in a lifetime kind of stuff. After the about 6-month mark, I aim to start putting in 1 position per week, and only true career builders, only the best of the best that's out there. In fact, if there's no good option that week, then I just simply don't put anything in. And then after the 1-year mark, then I start actively looking normally, unless I'm in a spot where I am continuing to really grow, and then no, I just keep only applying for stuff that comes on my radar that's really, really good. But once I start actively searching, then I put the word out on the streets. I start checking job postings daily. I definitely up my number of coffee or lunch or dinner dates per week if I can, so that I can, among other things and catching up, get the word out on the streets in a very personal way that I'm searching in case they have any connections for me. But it's also just a great opportunity to catch up with the people in your life that you love to catch up with. Now, I know that this sounds really exhausting, like a really exhausting process, and it can be. But eventually it will become so second nature that it doesn't add anything to your day. You're just so used to, for example, when you're done going through your email in the morning and you finally checked off your list, and the next thing you do is check postings real quick and then just go on with whatever else you do throughout your day. Or maybe you do this on the train on the way to work. Definitely don't recommend it if you're a driver, but this is something that can be done with your just spare minutes throughout the day, as long as you do it right. You'll eventually become a master at tweaking your resume for each position, writing a great cover letter that will have to be tweaked for each position, figuring out who to contact at the company you're applying at to make that human connection, so on and so forth. So, never stop applying. Never. Ever. But I did promise you a bonus secret. So the number 2 secret, two, is to never stop learning and growing. I know. eye roll. But seriously, never stop learning and growing. It's a no-brainer. Never stop applying is number one, because if you're not applying, it doesn't matter how much learning and growing you do. You're not going to get a better position just because you're an awesome human being. It very, very rarely works out that way. On occasion, someone will notice you and be like, yo, I want you on my team. But otherwise, doesn't happen that way. You have to be applying. But learning and growing is huge. If your skill sets and your experience stay stagnant, then so will your career. So be curious. Read a ton of books and articles. Go to lunch with people who like to talk about things that you're not terribly familiar with. Watch YouTube videos or documentaries or TED Talks. Ask to shadow someone at work who does something that you're interested in or don't know enough about. And always Google how to do things in a better and more efficient way. Even the most menial of tasks. You'll be surprised, things that you find, something that you've just always done and you've always done it a certain way and you don't even know that there's a better way to do it. Google everything. And whatever growth means to you, do it. You don't have to work off this list I just gave you. Whatever it means to you, do it. Don't get lazy about it. Do it. Please let me know down in the comments if you have any other questions on this particular topic, or if you'd like for me to do a video demonstrating exactly how I search for, find jobs, and put in applications. I'd be more than happy to show you guys that process. That's it for me today. I appreciate you tuning in, and definitely like, comment, and subscribe if you liked what you heard here and want to see more.